Mexico, Venezuela, Peru, and Brazil all in the headlines this week. Let me turn to Juan Carlos Hidalgo from the CATO Institute. He's a Latin America policy analyst in the Center for Global Liberty and Prosperity. Carlos, welcome.
Thank you.
Let me begin with Mexico. Peña Nieto dealing with poverty, corruption scandals, low approval rating, as we heard in Frank's piece. What in the world would possess him to invite Donald Trump to Mexico City? Wasn't that a huge gamble?
That's the questions in everybody's mind. We were expecting some kind of masterstroke on Wednesday afternoon during that joint press appearance between the Mexican president and Donald Trump, where probably President Peña Nieto was going to demand an apology from Donald Trump, or was going to assert to the public that Mexico wasn't going to pay for the wall. We didn't see that, so it was a major disaster, a PR disaster. And unlike other scandals that are besieging the president, this one was totally self-inflicted. His popularity was already at record lows at 23%, and some surveys indicate that over 90% of Mexicans consider that inviting Donald Trump to Mexico was a major mistake. So the president is going to suffer from this, and let's not forget that this is a president that still has 2 more years in the job.
Let's move on to Brazil. Dilma Rousseff's quick demise just last year. She was in Washington meeting with President Barack Obama. What is next for her, and what is next in terms of stability and unity for Brazil?
Well, now the Brazilian president, the new Brazilian president, Michel Temer, he's in China. He's trying to show to the world that he's now the new president of Brazil, trying to get some legitimacy into his post. His major goal will be to turn the economy around. Brazil is in the midst of its worst economic crisis since the 1930s. And Michel Temer needs to move fast because, you know, we're still 2 years ahead from the next election. And the closer you get to the election, the more difficult it's going to be for him to implement the much needed reforms regarding spending, regarding structural reforms, particularly in such a fragmented Congress as Brazil, where you have 28 political parties represented. So for Dilma, it's game over for her. There's still some debate whether the vote on impeaching her needs to be taken again next week for some technicalities, some constitution technicalities. So don't be surprised if next week we have the news that a new vote needs to be taken. So
that would mean it's really not over.
It could be not over.
Moving on to Venezuela, we saw huge protests this week. Anti-government camp wants a recall referendum to push Nicolas Maduro out of office, and they want it done before the end of the year. Is that going to happen? No,
it's not going to happen. Maduro is in firmly control of the electoral body, and the electoral body is setting the pace for when this recall vote is going to take place. It needs to take place before January 10th next year. If it happens after January 10th, and Maduro is revoked, his mandate is revoked, then the vice president will take over. And what Venezuelans need right now is not getting rid of Maduro, but getting rid of Chavismo, of the political movement that has been bankrupting Venezuela. The government is in firm control, so unless the opposition plays its hands and plays its hand hard, I don't see how this recall referendum is going to take place before January 10, 2017.
So does that mean the people of Venezuela will continue to see shortage of food, power outages, all these economic things that are happening in Venezuela with triple-digit inflation, unemployment?
Indeed, and hunger. I was in Venezuela in May, and I was surprised to see middle-class people not complaining because these are very proud people, but mentioning that they are going hungry. So people are eating like just 1 or 2 meals a day. So this is a terrible situation. The government is not going to implement reforms. And let's not forget something. The alternative for many people in the government in Venezuela is not simply retiring, like Dilma is just about to do in Brazil. It's going to jail. The amount of corruption they have engaged in, some even are mentioned in narco-trafficking cases here in the United States. So the alternative for them is not just retiring in a farm with a state pension. It's probably going to jail or being extradited to the United States. That's why they're going to hold to power as much as they can.
A terrible situation. Carlos Hidalgo, I think we covered it all. Thank you so much.
A pleasure.